everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much. I can see that we have 10 people watching this live. Thank you for joining in on time. So there's a lot that we're going to share. I also want to start with like an apology. This class was supposed to have happened on Friday, Thursday, I believe, and life happened, unforeseen circumstances. Hi, Veronica. Thank you for joining. And so it couldn't happen. And I thought, when is the earliest time that we could possibly reschedule this for? Because a lot of people have been waiting, looking forward to the class. And today just felt like the perfect day. So thank you for joining. I have a lot that I want to share, even more because we've had to reschedule. I really want it to be worth your time. So please, if you know any business owner who should be on this call, hi Oyekasola, who should be in this live, who should be in this class, please share the YouTube link with them. So I'm just going to give you like 2 seconds. Please go and share the link to this YouTube video on your WhatsApp story, on Twitter, in all your groups, every community that you can. Okay, I'm going to be here waiting. Hi, Charles. Hi, Charles Felicie. Hello, thank you so much. So, yeah, I'm waiting for you. Please go and share. And once you share, you can come back and say done. So please, my assistant is on the call. If you can put the link, actual link in the comment section, and so that people can just easily copy and paste it if possible. Right. So please go and share in all your communities. This class is going to be so impactful and beneficial. And people who join you, who you share this with, will be so glad that you did. So I'm just going to give you 2 seconds. Go and share the link everywhere, and then I'll be here when you get back. Okay. So I believe that some of us have shared a WhatsApp status in your communities, in your groups, with every single business owner that you know, so that you're not just letting it alone. You know how like you find. So I'm sort of a foodie. I really like trying out new restaurants, and when I try out a new restaurant, I want everybody to know about it, especially if it's really nice. So this is one of those things that your friends will be so grateful to you for sharing with them. It's a key business lesson that every business owner needs to know. So please, everybody that you know that needs to be in this class needs to be here. If you can, please introduce yourself in the comment section. So let us know your name, if your name is not really showing, where you're joining us from, right? What your business does. You never know who would connect with you. So welcome and thank you for joining us. So please, if you can just introduce yourself in the comment section, why we are expecting more people to join us, or inviting more people to join us. So let us know where you're joining us from. Hi, Veronica. I don't know how to pronounce your first name. So if you can, hi, Jessica from Abuja. Jessica sells kilishi in wholesale and retail. Amazing. Jessica, do you currently export your products? Hi, Yudi from Lagos. Yudi Akanem is a baker. Hello, Yudi. Thank you for joining us today. Who else? Yes, Jessica exports. So you're earning that foreign currency. That's great. I'm so happy to hear that. Hi, Siwese, Veronica from Benue State. Do you own a business? What does your business do? Hi, Mercy from Lagos. Mercy sells jewelries. Anya from Lagos sells clothing. Hello, Anya. Thank you for joining us today. Hi, Kate from Abuja, who owns a HR business. Hi, Chidima from Asaba. Hi, Chidima. I was in Asaba some days ago and I really liked it. It was my first time there, and I'm already making plans on how I need to be there for Christmas because it looks like a place that really pops for Christmas. So Veronica said she sells footwear, sneakers, sandals, corporate shoes. That's great. Feel free to put your Instagram link in the comment section. Now it's just for us to introduce ourselves, get to know each other. Hi, Chijoke Juliet. Um, Thank you for joining us. Great, great. So, because I have a lot to cover, we'll be jumping into it in a bit, but I still want to give people a chance to network. So, Oyinkansola, I'm trying to share your comments because it's great. My sister just opened bags and shoes goods from China, Olajumoke Plaza. So, where is this? Is this in Abuja, Lagos? Please let us know. Hi, Chibueze, who sells a footwear business procurement agent, basically from China. Hi. Hi, SA. Hi, and Abuja to say thank you. Elisa from Uyo, who is a graphic designer. Welcome, Elisa. So I really like that we have both products and service people. Thank you for sharing. Please continue sharing, introducing yourself. Hi, Charles Fallacy, graphic designer. Elevate their voice with designs. Amazing. So, graphic design is the one thing for my business I just never figured out how to do. So, yeah, I really love working with people like you. Hi, Mr. Paul. Fantastic. So, we have both products, business owners. Honestly, as people join in, feel free to introduce yourself. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Yemisi Isidi, your beautiful host this evening. I'm joining you from Abuja, Nigeria. Over the last 8 years, I've worked with businesses essentially to succeed, people to launch their ideas, businesses to understand their finance and to get funding. I co-own Thrift Africa, which is a microfinance institution that makes it easier for businesses to start and grow by accessing collateral-free loans, other forms of funding, getting the right business knowledge, capacity building, and community that they need to grow. I also co-own Idea to Funded, which supports businesses with capacity building essentially and advisory services as well. We also do things like business plan, financial projection, pretty much anything that we can do for you to put more money in various accelerator programs in, in countries across the world, right? So I've worked with the Future of Female Business School, Impact Amplifier in South Africa, Deep Africa, Founders Institute, which is one of the biggest accelerator programs for founders globally, UK Nigeria Tech Hub. If you can name any accelerator program that operates globally or for African founders, there is a really good chance that I have worked with them. I've done some work with them. I'm very passionate about business growth because I think successful businesses are essential for the growth of Africa's economy. So yeah, so that's why we are in this class today. These are some of the businesses that I've worked with. I've worked with both for-profit, non-profit, and government organizations across Nigeria and globally, essentially. So thank you so much for being here. So why are we here? What do we hope to learn? So pricing is one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen a lot of businesses make. So because I've worked with thousands of businesses over the last 8 years, a current recurring mistake that businesses make. In fact, on the week that we decided to launch this class, I had 2 coaching sessions with my clients for pricing, and both of them are significantly underpricing their products and services, and we're operating their businesses as a loss, and we're not aware of it. So the goal for me is that at the end of this class, you would have service so that you're building a profitable business. So if you stay with me to the end of this class, you're going to leave with the knowledge that you need to build a profitable business and to set the right price. Okay, so please make sure that you share this with them. If you're tweeting what you're learning, you can use hashtag GrowYemisi or hashtag Idea to Funded. This is very important. I'm going to try and keep it within 2 hours or less. So please ensure that you take off everything that may be a form of distraction, so that you can focus as much as possible. Use the that is coming to you, all of those things. Okay, so let's dig into it. So who is this course for anyone who has a business, whatever the business is, whether you're selling a product or a service. This course is for you, or if you have an idea that you're looking to launch, this course is for you as well. So that when you start your business, you're not making the mistakes that people typically make when it comes to price products or services. So let me show you some of the feedback from clients that I've worked with, especially on pricing. So this person reached out to me in London. She provides a service, and she was have 1 to 2 hour session that I deliver for, as well as like clearer strategy by step direction for execution. So we sat down together. We want to have business objectives she can provide both free and paid value, because some people are always wondering, oh, I want to make impact, but if I offer all my services for free, I won't be able to operate a profitable business. And I'm like, yes, genius. So how do we merge your ability to provide both profitable, both like free and paid services to your audience? So we're able to come up with a strategy that works. And also she needed some help with like support her operations, pretty much engaging her staff. So those are some of the things that we're able to offer to her. So Nigerian Impact Chick was looking to launch her idea, and she did not know how to start or where to start. So I worked with her to create a step-by-step guide that she can execute in 6 weeks. Because sometimes we just feel very stuck with ideas, know what we want to do, but we don't know if launch. So I was able to work with her to do that as well. So I'm just going to do a quick check-in. Everyone can still hear me clearly? We're good? Right, okay. Thank you. So let's get right into it. So Joseph, let's assume hypothetical. Sorry if this name feels familiar, the scenario feels familiar. I just came up with a random name for this slide, okay? So please, I'm not throwing shade at you, and we're all here to learn, right? So Joseph sets his price based on what he thinks his customers can pay. So if you are like Joseph, please let me know in the comment section. So Joseph sets his price based on what his customer can pay. So if you're like Joseph, let me know. Somebody, Judy said, sometimes I do that. Joyce said, I'm Joseph. Okay, great. Thank you. So there was a glitch. Yes. At times I do that. So you set your price based off what you think your customers can pay. So you just think, my customers, how much are they making? Let me just make this thing 10K, you know? All right, that's good. If you're like Joseph, you may be right, you may be wrong if that's your pricing strategy. What about Grace? Who is like Grace? So Grace sets her price based on what her competitors are charging. Okay, said I used to do that. I've deleted those old posts now. I'm now charging my worth. You good girl. Yeah. So who charges, who sets their price like Grace, right? So you set your price based on what your competitors are charging. So if you have a product, you go and ask around, oh, if people are selling it 100K, you now decide to do your own 90K so that you're able to compete. Right? Okay, so we have some Joseph, and I wish I did it as Joseph and Mary. So we have some Josephs and Mary with us in this class today. So let's go for that. I'm like, Grace, okay. Let's see if that's the right pricing strategy that you should be using. Okay, so when you hear the word price, what comes to mind? What is price? What does price mean? When you hear the word price, what comes to mind? So just because of time, and I know that network is lagging a bit, I'll just run through, but please continue to use the comment section to engage as much as possible. Okay? So your price is the amount of money that people pay you for your products or services, right? So, or how much you charge for the product and services that you provide. Why is it important? It's not just numbers, right? Your price will significantly influence your revenue. Your price would influence your confidence and even your ability to continue to offer that business. Your price will also influence the kind of customers that are coming to you for that product or service. So have you ever been charged something, right? The value of a product. That's an interesting one. We'll get to that. But for the sake of this class, let's say your price is the amount of money you're charging for your product or service. So your monetary value. Someone said her price is her profit. That's an interesting point that we're going to come to is how much you charge for your product or service, your profits. We'll come to that. Okay. So your price significantly influences your long-term success and influences your confidence as well. How much money that you have left after offering that product or service is significantly influenced by your price. Okay, so why does your pricing matter? Three P's: your profits, how much you're able to keep, how much you have left to keep your business sustainable. Your price also influences perception. So have you ever been charged? Have you ever heard the price of something and you just know, this is maybe not for me at this time, or this thing is too cheap. How am I sure that it is good quality, right? So have you ever, like, how many of you want Vicky James to do your wedding dress, for instance, right? And then you heard how much she charges, and you realize, okay, she's not for my income brackets, right? So perception, it influences how people see you, like the kind of customers who are even willing to come to you. Or you've heard the price of something and you've just said, oh, maybe this thing, if this thing is this cheap, then it's probably not great quality, right? So a lot of people are like that. So perception, it also influences your positioning. So where does your product sit in the mind of people? What do people expect when they pay for a dress of 5 million versus what do they expect when they pay for a dress of 50,000 naira, right? What kind of experience do they expect to have with you from the moment that they start making inquiries of that product or service that you offer? So these are some of the things that we'll consider. So far, we've established what your price really means beyond just the numbers. We've looked at the 5 key things that your price may reflect, and how your price impacts your revenue, your confidence, your customer base, long-term growth success. So now we're going to look at key definitions that you need to know when it comes to price. And this may sound very simple and almost like common sense, but it is actually so essential. I mentioned how I've worked with a lot of businesses over the last 8 years, some of them micro and small businesses, some of them early stage startups. And I've seen people, even with a master's degree, a PhD, people who have been operating business for 10 years or even more, make the same mistake when it comes to how they price their products or service. So I want to, in the next step or in the next slide as we progress, we're going to look at key terms that you need to understand when it comes to understanding your pricing, when it comes to key terms that you need to know when it comes to understanding your pricing. Okay, so the first one is your revenue, right? So your revenue is, what is it? Let's use our comment section. What is we'll come to that in a bit. The 40K braid conversation happening on Twitter sounds very expensive to me. Fair enough. But I'm sure that there's somebody who is happy to do your braid for 1K or 5K or less, right? And not everybody is charging 40K, right? And the person who is charging 40K would give you hopefully a better experience than the person charging 5K. So yeah, well, we'll come to that in a bit. So when you hear the word revenue or income, what comes to mind? So for the sake of this class, we're going to keep things as basic and as elementary as possible so that everyone, no matter what stage you are with your business, you will be able to understand, right? So when it comes, and I'm keeping my eyes on the comment section as well, the total money you make in your business for the provision of goods and services. Good job. Good job. That's a fantastic description. Thank you so much, Unique, for that. So if I sell, okay, I like to use water. So if I'm selling this bottle of water for 100 naira per bottle, my revenue is going to be 100 naira, right, per bottle that I sell. So if I sell 10 bottles in a day, my total revenue is going to be 100 naira times multiplied by 10 bottles. That's great. So another key concept that we need to understand is cash. So I've had business owners say, I am definitely operating a profitable business because I have a lot of cash in my account. True or false, right? Most likely false. Having a lot of cash in your account does not mean that you're building a profitable business. And I'm going to break it down in a bit. So cash is when someone exchange money with you for the product or service that you offer. So this can be cash payments, POS, transfer to bank accounts, whatever it is. You can record a lot of sales and have no cash or low cash. Yes or no? You can record a lot of sales and have low cash or no cash. Yes or no? So it is possible for you to have a lot of sales and have low cash if you're selling on credit. So that's another thing with a lot of micro and small businesses, especially, or even people who do a lot of B2B, like you offer a software to business or from a form of service to a business. You you can have a lot of sales. So in a year or in a month, you record that you have sold 1,000 bottles of this water. And then your employees come and ask you for salary and you say, oh, I don't have cash. But they're looking at the store and it's empty. Why? Because you've sold on credit. And selling on credit is not bad, depending on your context and the industry. But you need to be mindful that you have a system to ensure that you recover the money that is going out on credit, right? So you want to ensure that if you're selling on credit, you have a system to ensure that you're getting cash, right? And you also need to be very mindful that to know that a lot of sales does not equal cash, and cash is king. Cash is the king of running a successful business. You want to make sure that you always have cash in your business, the required cash that you need to build that successful business. If not, there are loads of opportunities that you may not be able to access, and loads of things that you need to do for your business that you may not be able to do if you do not have cash. So there is also profits. Is it possible to make a lot of sales? So I have this bottle of water, 100 naira. I end up selling 1 million bottles at the end of the month. And I have cash. They are paying me cash. Nobody is doing credit sales, or even my credit sale, I'm recovering the money within 24 hours. Is it possible for me to operate a business like that and still not have profits? Yes, it is. If the cost of getting this water is higher than the price that I'm selling it for. So if I buy this bottle of water for 80 naira per bottle and I sell it for 100 naira, right? I'm able to make a profit because my price is higher than my cost. The 100 naira that I'm selling this bottle of water for is not my profit. So a lot of times businesses confuse their revenue for profit. So as long as somebody is paying you, you think, yes, I've made it. This is my money to spend. No, 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 no. Right? So as long as, so you always need to make sure that to operate a profitable business, your price needs to be higher than your cost, the cost of providing that product or service. And as we go further, we are going to look at the different costs that are involved. But for the purpose of this example right now, we'll keep it simple, right? If it costs you 8 naira to buy this bottle, you cannot say my neighbor is selling water for 75 naira. And so I'm going to start selling my own water for 70 naira so that I can compete with my neighbor. You can also say, even if I bought it for 80 naira, my customer, they don't have a lot of money, but they can afford 50 naira. So I'll sell it for 50 naira. You sell it for 50 naira, you have a lot of sales, you have a lot of cash, but you would have zero profit. You'll be operating your business at a loss. And so as we progress in the class, those are some of the things that we're going to break down. Fantastic. So yes, it is possible to make a lot of sales without having profit. So a lot of times when people do discounts. Oh, it's my birthday, 50% off. Oh, it's Valentine's Day, 20% off. Yes, a lot of people are going to come and you're going to make a lot of sale, but you're going to end up not having more. If you're not careful, if you've not properly calculated your cost, you're going to end up not having profits, right? Or building a profitable business. So we've looked at the key elements that make up your price, the key terms that you need to understand when it comes to setting your price. Now we're going to look at three main pricing models and how to use them. So if, for instance, this was a physical event, let's say that we're seated in a hall in, where is your favorite place to have a physical event in Abuja? I had a physical event there and it was a really, really lovely venue and it had like a lovely restaurant where I had the most delicious sandwich. But that's not what we're talking about today. If you were doing this event physically, if I was having this event physically, and let's say that I was expecting 200 people in the hall, and I ask you, let me look for someone random. I asked Mr. Unique, for instance, to cater for the event. I said, Mr. Unique, you have one of the best catering businesses that I know. I've tasted your jollof rice. It's very nice. So I want you, yes, the view. Okay, let me not be distracted. But yes, I asked Mr. Unique, you have one of the best businesses in catering business that I've ever tried. Like your jollof rice bangs so much. It's very smoky. You know, you eat that, you're talking about it for days. So I want you to cater to my business. I want you to cater for this event. What are some of the things that you would consider before giving me a prize? So what are some of the factors that you would consider in your invoice before giving me a prize? So please use the comment section. Thank you, Mr. Unique. Thank you. So please use the comment section. Let me know, what will you consider before giving me a prize? Number of guests, that's good. So how many guests am I expecting? Yes. Cost of buying the raw materials, yes. So based on the number of guests, how much rice would you be making? How much are the spices? What else would you consider? Location, yeah. So how much is it going to cost Mr. Unique to transport my cooler of jollof rice from his house to the venue? Staff, okay, said staff. So labor, staff, how many people is Mr. Unique going to hire to cook this my banging jollof rice? Total number of reference person. Mr. Paul, I'm not sure I understand. Total number of ref persons, type of mean. If you can just retype that, that'll be helpful. Labor, resource, logistics, packaging the rice. So is it going to be takeaway? And then is it going to be buffet style? Is it only rice? Will there be salad? Will there be chicken or beef or fish? Will there be moi moi or plantain? I'm talking about it and I'm already feeling hungry. Yeah, current cost of times. What does that mean? Do you mean like the current cost of things? Cost of bill, like internet subscription. How does that connect? Maybe help me understand. Quality, types of package they want, premium or standard. Yeah, cost of consumables, cost of food items. So apart from the cost of like food items and delivery and logistics, what else would you consider when sending me a bill? When sending me my bill? Quality of the food itself. Yeah, apart from the total number of people, the costs, all your costings, but quality of the food, yeah. What else will you consider? Will you consider the caliber of clients, right? So am I a prominent person that is high class? Okay, I like that. Also, how soon is the event, right? So if an event is next week, Saturday, you probably do not have a lot of time to prepare. So that short notice can be included in price. If the event is in November, actually, I'm having a physical event in November, so I'm looking forward to that aside. Yeah, so if the event is in November and the person is engaging you now, will that influence your price? So if I come to Mr. Unique and I tell Mr. Unique, I have an event in November, I want you to cater. Send me invoice. Would the dates influence the price? Most likely, because the price of things now will most likely not. Yeah, that's a good one. Will most likely not be the price in November, and he needs to consider perhaps how much, how high or how low things may have changed between now and then. I like what Ozioma said, profit to be made from the service. So beyond the costs and whatever, how much do I, as Mr. Unique the caterer, want to make from the business? So also like short notice. Yeah, so how much pressure is this putting on your business? What are you having to sacrifice? So if you deliver something within 3 to 5 days and someone comes and they say, I need it in the next 2 hours, in next 2 hours, next 2 hours, and it is possible for you to do it in the next 2 hours, but it means that you're putting a lot of pressure on your team, all of that. How would that influence your price as well? Back to what Oziama said about profit to be made. So those are one of the key things that you need to consider with your pricing beyond the cost, right? How much do I want to make from this business? Charles said, I'll be pricing you and the type of people coming to the event. That's good. So if I'm having an event for 200 people for bank directors from across Nigeria, and the menu is exactly the same for an event that I'm also doing for micro and small businesses across Nigeria, will your pricing be the same? Will the pricing be the same? So I am having two different events. One event is going to be for bank directors across Nigeria. So we are doing a risk training, something like that, something fancy. Yeah. So if we're doing that, and it's the same menu, and I tell you, okay, I also want to do the same menu. I want to use it for MSME, the same number of people. Would the price be the same or would it be different? So I'm just like piggybacking on what Mr. Charles said. So will the price be the same or would it be different? So I am hosting two events, one event for bank directors, another event for people who are MSMEs. Small and small, it will be different, right? So also like the caliber of guests, the value that is expected. That's good. So I want you to hold that thought and all the considerations that you take, yeah, and share. So time as well. I really like this. Consider how long the service is going to take. Yes, consider how long the service is going to take. So would I need to be there all day as a caterer? Would I just drop the food and go? Also, how long is it taking me to prepare the food? That's fantastic. Thank you, Juliana. That's a great point. Yeah, so it wouldn't be the same price. Okay, so let's go. So when it comes to pricing, there are three main um, price models. There are so many, but for the purpose of this class, we'll look at these three. Of the three, we're only going to look at one of them, which we're going to really break down in depthly. So there is a cost-based, there is a value-based, and there is a competition-based. So the cost-based, value-based, and the competition-based. So the cost-based is where you're primarily considering your costs. So what are my total costs? What is my markup? So there are two steps, there are two methods for this that we're going to go through on the course today. And this is the most important pricing model that you will use, that you need to know. There's also the value based, where you put your price based on the perception that you want people to have. So I do business plans, and my business plans are really good. It has helped people get loads of funding. Let's say that I charge 500K or 700K on average for a business plan, right? Someone else might be charging 100K for that business plan. And to be honest, they may be doing the exact same thing that I'm doing. Another person may be charging 1 million for that business plan. So, but it is the target audience and the value perception that we want people to have. Remember what we said at the beginning, that your pricing, the price that you use significantly influences the perception that people have of your business, of your brand, right? So how do you want people to perceive you? Do you want people to perceive you as mass market, or do you want people to perceive you as more uptown? So I went to a restaurant once, and it was very, I don't even know how to explain it. It was in Abuja, and it was in a very, it's in Wuse too, but it is very hidden. You would not even know that a restaurant is there, and it had like loads of private rooms, and obviously the food was very expensive, so it was very high end. So we have people like governors, maybe they want a place to like casually hang out, they hang out there, senators, right? Other restaurants that may be serving the exact same food would not be as expensive because, right, they're right on the road. They're not offering you all of those extra premium services, right? So value-based pricing is when your price is based on the perception that you want people to have. You can have a lot of margin on it just because of perception. Competition-based pricing is when you are setting your price in relation to your competitors within the industry, right? So most of these apply to like mass market goods, or even like anything in general. So before I set my price for most things, I'll definitely have my costs, and then I could also do a competitor analysis to understand what are people charging in the industry, so that I can use to benchmark, right? But the most important thing is your costs. Even if you're doing value-based pricing or competition-based pricing, if you've not fully understood your costs and considered your costs when setting your price, you'll most likely not be setting the right price for your products and services. Okay, so we've walked through like three business model: cost-based pricing, value-based pricing, and competition-based pricing. Next, we're going to look at two methods of calculating the cost-based pricing, and I'm going to be breaking them down as much as possible so that you can understand it. And when you leave this class, you clearly understand how to review your price and how to set the right price for your product or service. And I've also created a fantastic calculator which we're going to be using in the class today. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can start asking them in the comment section. Or if something is not clear, you just really want to input. But I really love the conversation going on in the comment section. Thank you so much. And if you haven't shared this class on your WhatsApp status, in your groups, with your communities, please ensure to do so. So now we're going to look at two methods of cost-based pricing. But before we do that, we have to look at essential elements of cost-based pricing, which is the cost. So what are the foundations of cost-based pricing? It's the cost, understanding your costs, right? So the two cost-based pricing that we're looking at today is the cost plus pricing and the cost volume pricing. And I'm going to be breaking this down. But essentially, the foundation of both of them is understanding your costs. So there is the direct costs and there is the indirect cost, right? So if I sell a bottle of water, for instance, what are some of the, or if I make a bottle of water, what are some of the direct costs involved in making this water, right? So the cost of my plastic, the cost of my label, the cost of the water inside. If I pay a driver based on the number of bottles that he sells, that's a direct cost as well, right? So what other direct costs can we think about if I'm making this bottle of water for sale? So direct costs are costs that are directly tied to the products or services that you sell. So they may go up or down depending on your production volume, right? And then there is the indirect costs, right? So yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that everyone is following and we're good and you can hear me. Great, great, great. So I think the internet has improved considerably. That's good. Okay, so there's also the indirect costs, which are costs that are not directly tied to your products or the service that you're offering. So what are examples of indirect costs? It can be rent, right? So if I rent this place and I'm doing different businesses, or even like one business, manufacturing water, but the thing is that the amount that I pay for rent is not directly tied to the number of bottles of water that I make in a month or that I sell in a month, right? those are examples of like indirect costs. So costs that you cannot directly trace to a product or service, right? They are sometimes known as fixed costs as well. So that takes us to fixed costs versus variable costs. So fixed costs are expenses that do not change with the amount of items that you produce or sell. So if I rent this space now, right, and I decide that I'm going to be manufacturing water and selling water from the space, if at the end of the year I have not made one single bottle of water or sold one single bottle of water and it's time to renew rent, when the landlord comes, will I say, oh, I didn't produce any bottle of water, so you can't charge me? No, that's not possible. So things like rent are fixed costs. Same thing for like salaries. So if you've offered people monthly salaries, not based on commission or output, at the end of the month, even if you were sick in bed all day and you've made zero revenue, you still have to pay for you still have to pay your rent. So costs that do not change with the number of items that you produce or sell. Variable costs are costs that change based on how much you produce or sell. So if I was to make 50 cupcakes, right? The amount of flour that I'll need if I were to make 100 cupcakes would be significantly different from if I was to make 50 cupcakes. So costs that or items that change based on volume of outputs are example of variable costs. I hope that we are following. So in this session so far, we've gone through the different cost structure and understanding the different costs that go into providing a goods or service. And this is essential. Like I mentioned, your cost-based model is the most important pricing model that you need to know when you're building your business, irrespective of whatever pricing strategy you choose to do. Understanding your cost is the foundation to setting the right price for your business. So we're going to take a short break here. You can just copy and this link will be in the comment section, and you can just go and grab this free tool that we've prepared for you, which is your profitable pricing checklist, which just has a list of things that you need to consider when setting your price. So I'm just going to give us like a 2 minutes break. We're going to have the link in the comment section. Please go ahead and grab it. We'll be back in the next 2 minutes. So go and stretch your legs, go and drink water, go and get the free resource, and I'll be back in 30 seconds, right? And then we can now go into the step-by-step of your cost-based pricing, where I'm showing you with practical example how to recognize your different costs and to arrive at your price. Okay, so go and grab your free resource and I'll see you in the next 30 seconds. Hey everyone. So we're back. Please, you're welcome. If you've gotten the free resource, feel free to share the link in the comments on your status, in your communities as well. Please also share the link to this live stream on your WhatsApp status if you haven't done so already. Share with people in your different communities. Every business owner that you know needs to be on this call. So please share with them. Okay, let's go on, right? So again, some more feedback from clients that have helped. Your business finance is absolutely important. I know that one of the reasons why people are able to price their businesses correctly, price their products and services correctly, is because they do not like numbers. So if I was to ask how many of you on this call like numbers or you're very good with maths, most people do not. But it is essential that if you want to build a successful business, you need to have a hang of your business finance. Okay, so having a hang of your business finance is you can learn anything. If you can learn anything, if you can even learn the skills that has brought you into operating that business, you can definitely figure out your your business finance. Unique, you're really a class captain for today. Thank you. So next up, we're going to look at cost plus pricing. So I mentioned that on this call, we're going to do a deep dive into two main pricing methods, two main cost-based pricing methods. And the first one is the cost plus pricing. We're going to look at how it works, how to calculate your total cost, how to arrive at your price, key factors that would have influenced the price that you use in this method. And I'm going to show you a simple practical tool that I've created to break down your pricing, right? So cost plus pricing is when you determine the selling price of your product or service by adding a fixed markup percentage or a fixed amount to the total cost of producing the product or service. So there's going to be a step-by-step guide, but essentially the first step is to identify all your costs and then add a markup. So your markup can be equal to your costs, can be larger than your cost, can be smaller than your cost, anyhow, but you're able to add an additional price in order to arrive at your pricing, before you arrive at your pricing. Okay? So with cost plus pricing, you identify your indirect costs, your direct costs, and then you add a markup. So I've gone through that already. We're going to do a practical example. So I'm going to change the screen that I'm sharing to the tool that I had created for you, right? But let's just walk through the theory parts and then we're going to do some practice. And I created a simple pricing tool such that you don't need to like maths to know about the tool, right? You don't need to like maths to be able to use this tool that I've created. It's very easy and like well broken down. Anybody can have access to the tool. And yes, I'm going to tell you how you can access the slide after the class, including recording of the session, especially those who are currently in this class. But just make sure that you stay till the end of the class, right? So that you can get the guide on how to get the slide and the recording and all of that. So for cost plus pricing, you need to know all your direct costs. So these are costs that are directly traceable to the product or service. Remember that I mentioned that they usually vary as the number of units changes. So your direct costs for 20 units will not be the same for 100 units, right? And then there is the indirect cost as well. So these are costs that are not directly traceable to a particular product or service, but they are usually fixed and they do not vary with the number of units, right? And then you also need to be able to estimate your monthly sales volume. So how much are you realistically able to sell, or do you want to aim to sell, right? And then we come up with our total costs per unit, so our direct and indirect costs per unit, and also a profit margin, and then we arrive at our final selling price. So I'm going to, if that sounded confusing, don't worry, we're going to break it down in a bit. Okay, so let's go to our pricing calculator. So I mentioned that I created a simple pricing tool. So this is what I'm going to use, and I'm going to walk you through how to use this simple pricing tool to build a profitable business, whether or not you like numbers or whether or not you like maths, right? So the areas in purple have already been automated. You don't need to change them. So I'm going to start with service business owners, and then I'm going to work with product business owners. So this is a generic pricing tool which will be available. But when I work with clients one-to-one, I'm able to create a more focused pricing tool for their business, right? So I'm able to create something that is more specific and more focused on their business, depending on the business that they're operating or what they want to achieve from it. But if you're not able to sign up for my one-to-one session where I can handhold you and work closely with you, you can have access to this tool and you can like use it to calculate your pricing yourself. So let's say that I operate a consulting or service business. I want to calculate my monthly business costs that are fixed, right? Or that are not tied to a specific service that I operate. So let's say that I pay rent, and this is like monthly business cost, right? So if I pay rent of say 300K per annum, let's say I work from home and I like to contribute like a small percentage of my annual rent to as rent for my business. So let's say 300K per annum. So per month would be 300K divided by 12, or 300,000 divided by 12. Let's say that I have an EA that I pay a monthly salary to. Let's say we pay her 120,000. Internet, let's say that I spend 18,000 on internet every month. Um, then marketing spend, let's say I spend 80,000 on ads, generator 75,000. So all my other subscription tools. So you can use this section to list out all the tools that you use and then plug in numbers there. So maybe for the sake of making this class more practical, if you own a consulting or service business, do you want to like mention some of your indirect costs, or some of your indirect costs? So you can see that sometimes indirect costs are not fixed. They just cannot be tied to a specific product or service. So for instance, generator running. Um, it's not a fixed price. It's not something that does not change with output. It depends on the number of hours that you on your generator for. That would influence the amount of money that you spend on fuel. But you may not be able to tie it to a specific product or service. And that is why it differentiated between direct and indirect costs, as well as fixed and variable costs. So what are some of the expenses? If you can't come up with one, that's fine. So these are some of our monthly business costs. So we can call this total indirect cost per month, right? 318,000. So if you now also consider, okay, how much salary do you want to earn from this business monthly? So let's say that you want to pay yourself 250,000 at the end of the month. They put that there. So this brings your total monthly business cost to 568,000. Bear in mind that this is a template for consulting or service business owners. Then you need to consider how many days do you want to work? Do you work in a month? So let's say you don't work weekends, you only do about 25 days a month. How many hours a day do you work? Let's say you work 5 hours a day rather. You want that work-life balance, flexibility. So you do 5 hours a, a day. How many hours do you spend on like admin, social media, all of those? So do a monthly average and multiply by 4. So let's say that you spend 2 hours weekly on admin, social media, all of that, and then multiply by 4 is 8. So this would give you your billable hours per month, your billable hours per month, right? So with that, you're able to, it automatically calculates the minimum you should charge your customers per hour of work. So if somebody gives you a task to do, so there's okay, let me finish and then I will come to the question. So if somebody gives you a task to do, you can ask yourself, how many hours is this task going to take me, right? And then you calculate that's automatic. With that, you're able to come up with a price to charge them for. So this is the minimum amount you should be charging your customers per hour of work. If you're able to, if you want to work this amount and earn this amount and cover all of this costs in a month. So the parts in purple have already been automated. So if someone comes to you to give you a task and you don't know how to charge them, all you have to do is to put the number of hours required. So how many hours is the task that you're doing for them going to take, right? What are other costs, including potential direct costs? So what are some direct costs? For instance, if somebody comes to me to do a business plan, and there are some aspects of it that I may want to outsource because I don't want to work on the full thing, that that is a direct cost, right? So I can put that there. Maybe you'll be working with someone to complete the task, and you will need to pay them per deliverable that they offer. That is a direct cost on that project. So you put that there. And then you also maybe consider miscellaneous other things that may come up that may cost. So direct cost can also be like logistics fees, so transport to and fro to deliver that service. You put all of that there. So with that, you're able to come up with a total fee that you can use as a guide to charge the clients. Let me check for questions. At the direct cost based on at the indirect cost based on average, like how many months should you consider in? So this is monthly. So this template that we've used is monthly. So we've listed out like even rent that is paid per annum. We broke it down into what per month looks like. So let's say that I'm a graphic designer, somebody, and I do flyers. Rent is 300K per annum. And so I broke it. What does that look like monthly? So all these are monthly expenses on average, monthly, right? And then how much salary do I want to earn in a month as well? How many hours am I able to work? So these are like your billable hours per month, right? So how many days do you work in a month? And how many hours per day do you work? Also check for the time that you spent. Yeah, just use an average. Just use like, I'll typically use like the higher end of what that average would look like, right? Or power in general. So if you don't have lights, how much are you running for? You can also maybe include it in your direct costs. So if you don't have a specific amount of generator running, if somebody comes to you with a task that needs maybe 10 hours to complete, and so how much would running your generator for 10 hours cost? You can include that in your direct cost then, when arriving at the total cost that you're charging the customer. So I'll typically advise my clients to never share breakdown of their cost with clients. So your clients does not need to see this breakdown. They just need to see the total cost in the invoice. It's you that know how you have arrived at that place. So a lot of people say, oh, I'm a service entrepreneur. I don't know how much to charge. I don't know how to charge. This simple calculator makes it very easy for you to charge. So you list out your indirect costs per month, your expected salaries, how much time you want to devote to working in your business. This way you're able to arrive at per hour. How much should you be charging per hour? And then you can now do minimum hourly charge. So this is also on the basis that you actually have clients that engage you for this amount of hour. So yes, price always changes. That's why you have this calculator. When the price change, you come here and you change the numbers and it gives you new numbers that you can work with automatically. So it is not one size forever, right? You need to be open to coming back to tweak it as market situation changes, or even as the caliber of clients that you're trying to engage with or reach out to change it. Yes, so that's for consulting businesses. So this one for products, we're going to just do for like, let's say you sell one kind of product. Like I said, this is a generic template. When you get it, you can tweak it based on what your business does. Some of the numbers have been automated. When I work with clients on one-to-one session, I'm able to come up with a template that is unique to their business, right? So based on if they have like 100 products, I'm able to come up with a calculator that they're able to use to check what profit for those 100 products should look like. But for the sake of this class and just keeping things simple, you have a template that is very generic, very straightforward, but essentially very useful. So let's say that you sell Gary, and I hope that we are following, right? So I'm going to try and start wrapping up because I mentioned that I wanted to keep this class impactful, short, sweet, but 2 hours or less. So let's say that you sell, so let's use Gary because that's the example I have here. Remember that you can tweak this template based on what your business does. So you list out your indirect costs. So with the with the cost plus pricing method, you list out your indirect costs. So again, rent per year, what does that translate to per month? If you have 4 staff, what does their salary come to at the end of the month? How much are you spending? So what are the things that you're spending on that you cannot directly link to a product or service? That way you're able to arrive at your total indirect cost per month, right? So how do you assign this indirect cost to a product so that you're not just having total indirect cost per month, but you also have indirect cost per product, right? So, how many products do you estimate that you're able to sell in a day? Let's say that you're able to sell 50 packs of Gary in a day. And in a week or in a month, if you're operating for 25 days a month, you're able that means that you're able to sell 1,250 packs of Gary in a month. Again, if this sounds confusing, you don't like math, remember that this is completely automated. So if I decide that actually the number of Gary that I can sell in a week is 60, right? Then I change the multiplier to 4 because there are 4 weeks in a month. So that automatically changes. So all the highlights in purple have been automated. You just put in the numbers that you know, and it gives you the numbers that you should work with. Very easy, very easy. So the indirect cost per unit is this amount. So you have your indirect cost per unit. So what about the direct costs, right? If the Gary, you buy them in packs, so 30,000 pack, a 30,000 per, let's say a bag of Gary, 30,000 naira, right? And that bag of Gary, you can use it to make 10 small bags. That means the direct cost for each Gary is 3,000. Or let's say that we're selling Gary in this bottle, right? We have a bag of Gary, 30,000 naira. And this bottle, that a bag of Gary can fill 10 of this bottle, right? It means the direct cost of Gary per this bottle is going to be 3,000 naira. Let's say that this bottle is the nylon bag that will package the Gary, and we buy 1 dozen of this bottle for 2,000 as an empty bottle that will pour the Gary inside. That means one bottle is 2,000 divided by 12, right? And let's say each label is 20 naira. Let's also say that maybe there is somebody that we work with who will pay per each bottle that they package. So you get paid per bottle that they package. Let's say they get paid 100 naira per bottle that they package. That brings us to, so that would influence our total direct costs is 3,286. So this is our total direct cost. So we have our total direct costs. We have our indirect costs, right, which we've already calculated, indirect cost per unit, which now gives us our total cost per unit, right? So both direct cost and indirect cost. And then let's say that for every of our products, we want to make 23% profits, right? So we have our profit policy, which we can always change or tweak. And then that means that on every product, we want to make 23% of our total cost. So in this case, 23% is 1,324. 1,324. So at estimated selling price, considering all our costs, our profit margin, you can see it's automated. We have an estimated selling price, right? And then if we round off to a number, right, so that we're not selling with kobo and all of that, we have a selling price. So now we've arrived at how much we should be selling our Gary for, considering our profit margin. So again, the calculator is very simple, very clear. So I'm just going to move on. So this is if you have the calculator, you can, when you get the calculator, you can play around with it, right? But because of time, so I've shown you how to identify your direct costs, your indirect costs, your fixed costs, variable costs, all of that, and how to then use it as a guide towards your coming up with a price. So I mentioned your profit margin, which is the percentage that you add to your total cost in order to arrive at a price. What do you think are some of the factors that would influence this profit margin? What are some of the factors that would influence that influences profit margin? So this additional percentage that you add to your total cost to arrive at your final price, what do you think influences it? What are some of the factors that would influence your profit margin? So some of it would include your brand positioning. So do you want to position as a premium brand or as an average brand or like as a budget brand? Some of it will also include, one of it will also include your location, right? So two people can be selling a dress. One person is selling it in Lekki, another person is selling it in from Adama, or let's say on the outskirts of Karo. Because of where they are selling it from and because of who their target audience are, the profit margin that they put on the product can differ. So one person can have a profit margin of 200%, and another person would have a profit margin of 20%, right? Because of target audience. Market penetration. Some people believe that, yes, that's a good one. Mr. Unique said the industry that you're operating in. So there are some industries where you can't charge more than a certain price. For instance, right? There is already like a uniform price for that product or service. So it doesn't even matter what your objective are, what your costs are. You can't charge above a certain price, right? Meanwhile, for some other industries like the hair industry, somebody can be charging 40K for cornrow, and another person is charging 1,000 naira for cornrow. So as long as they both have a customer paying for it, it's not a crime. If you can't pay 40K, there's most definitely somebody who you can pay for that product or that service. Okay. So your business vision as well. Why did you set up that business? What's your objective for setting up that business? So if I make this class free, right? If I decide to make, if now that I make this class free, and then, oh, Jen Pat, I was trying to figure out like why your name seems familiar. I remember where I know you from now. Thank you for joining us, right? So if I decide to make this class free because I want as many people as possible to join, someone else could have made this class paid. So for instance, if this class was paid for, considering all the values that you've gotten so far, how much would you have paid for it? Let me even just ask that in the comment section. So if you were to have paid for this class, how much would you have been happy to pay for it? 30K. Luashe said she'd have been happy to pay 30K for this class. 10K. Thank you, Mr. Paul. Pardon me. 10K. So if people would have been willing to pay anywhere between, let's say, 10 to 50K for this class, right? So if my goal was to make a lot of money from this class, I could have set a price, put a price on it, right? But my goal is to reach a lot of people. I want as many people as possible to be able to pay for this class. That would now influence the price that I get to set for the class, right? So it is so important that you consider your own business objective. And that also ties in with when we are comparing ourselves with other people. Someone can set up a business so that they can just reach a lot of people. So I gave this example in a class. If I make hair, if I'm really good with braids, and my goal for setting up my business is just so that I'm busy. I don't want people to call me a lazy woman. And so I set up a salon in front of my shop. Someone else makes hair and her goal is to be a global sought after braider, such that people are able to fly her out for events, for weddings, for road shows, for red carpet events. Another person braids hair, and her goal is that through her business, she's able to empower thousands of women to be financially independent. It's the same skill, the same hair, but because of the vision and objective that they have for their life, It would influence their business model. It would influence the pricing that is set for their products, the profit margin that they put on their products, all of those things. So it is very, that's why comparing yourself with other businesses, especially when you don't know like what is happening in the back end, can be very risky. So when you say you set your price based on what your competition is charging, you don't know why your competition set up that business. Your competition probably has a lot of grants, which means that their cash flow is great, even if they are making a loss in their business, right? So they may not be operating a profitable business, but they have like very healthy cash flow that can keep the business going. You may not have that. So these are things that you need to consider. Also, the kind of products, your marketing strategy as well. So if you say, okay, this product, I want it to be on billboards all around Abuja versus, oh, I just want to run ads, those are things that can influence your profit margin. So you will need to make sure that your profit margin enables you to stay profitable across the products. Um, what are some other things? There's one thing that is not on this list when it comes to setting your profit margin. What about inflation, right? So your total cost may be 100 naira today, but tomorrow it may be 150. If you've set a really good profit margin, it means that you may not be operating at a loss, right? Because you may not be making as much profit as before, but you may not be operating at a loss because your profit margin enables that change in costs over time. So that's another thing to consider as well. Inflation, how the market is changing. Those are key things to consider when it comes to setting your profit margin. So this is just a guide. There is no one size fits all. You can be selling an average product that is mid market, and your profit margin is over 100%. Um, just because maybe your cost is really low and people are still willing to pay for it at that price that you're selling it for. Okay. So these are feedback from some clients that I've worked with. I worked with Jennifer as a coach on a business program, and she really recommended like working with me. During my last class, Joy said that she found the session very practical and very useful. So thank you. So I mentioned that there are two cost based method, the cost plus pricing and the cost volume pricing. I've used the calculator to show you the cost plus pricing. There's another method that I'm going to show you, but I want to just say that if you want this resource, um, so I'm going to create a more robust pricing course. So you get the recording, additional content that can guide you for your pricing. You get the calculator. You get a breakdown essentially of how to price your products, right? So within the next 1 week before the launch of the course, because I want to go back, add more materials, make it more useful, it's going to be 15,000. But because you're on this call, if you pay right now, you get to pay 10,000 naira only. So you're getting everything that we've covered so far, a lot more that are not covered so far. So some people ask things like, if how do I handle objection from my clients when I increase my price, right? What are the other pricing methods? So I do tell my clients that there is actually a pricing model that enables you to charge at a loss. You don't always need to charge your product at a profit, but when does that when can you implement that? So those are some of the things that I cover in the course. So a lot more things that obviously we've been here for almost 2 hours. I'm going to show you another pricing methods that you can use, and I'm also going to show you like how to further use the calculator. So if you want the slide, the recording of this and a lot more, the pricing calculator that makes it really easy for you to calculate your cost and all of that, just make a payment. If you pay right now, you get to pay only 10,000 naira. After the class, you have to pay a lot more, right? And if you feel like, no, I don't want the course, I actually want you to hold my hand and work with me to review all my costs, to come up with a pricing strategy for my business. My one-to-one pricing strategy session is 150,000, but because you're on this course, you just have to pay 70,000 naira. So if you want both of them, right now, all you have to pay is 80,000. So we're going to go into the next pricing model, cost-based pricing model that I said I was going to show you. So this is called the cost volume based pricing model, right? With this one, you use your cost to estimate how much you should be selling within a period of time. So you're looking at what we call a contribution margin, why it matters. I'll also be showing you how to check your break even, right? So what's the least amount of products that you should be selling in the month to be profitable, or what's the least price that you should be charging for your product or service in a month in order to be profitable. And I'm going to show you how to calculate that with the pricing calculator. Very easy, very straightforward. Okay, so let's quickly go in. So let's go back to the example of the like Mr. Unique catering to this event. If this was a physical event, right, and Mr. Unique was providing us a hot smoky jollof rice, what are some of the factors to consider when setting the price? So let's assume that we have 100 guests. Variable cost per plate is 3,000 naira. Selling price is 5,500. So he decides that, okay, for each guest, we're going to charge 5,500, and the direct cost is 3,000, and his fixed cost is 200,000, right? So how can we ensure that he's operating a profitable business? So we've already established that this 5,500 that Mr. Unique gets paid per plate of rice is not his profit. We've already established that it is not his profit, right? So with the cost volume profit, we identify what is called a contribution. So I'm going to go back to using the calculator. There is no formula for this on the calculator, so I'm just going to create one right now. I had done it a different way that I'm going to show you, but for the sake of this class, so I'm going to move it to the end, right? So selling price is, I hope that you can see my screen clearly. Selling price is 5,500. Direct costs of rice, direct costs for each plate of rice is 3,000 naira per plate. His fixed costs, so everything that he needs to pay for, irrespective of the number of rice that he sells per month. How much did we say it was? 200,000. So let's say that Mr. Unique typically sells rice. Plate of rice, 5,500. His direct cost, 3,000. Let me just make sure that you're following me. I hope that you can see my screen clearly. Let me increase my font size. Right? So we're going to check for something called contribution, right? So your contribution is your price minus your direct cost or your cost of goods sold. Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Paul. So your price minus your cost of goods sold. So this is your contribution. So let's highlight that in red. Is this contribution your profit? No, it is not your profit because we still have the fixed costs, right, to cover. This contribution is just what is left after we've covered our selling price or our direct costs. And most people wrongly assume that this is their profit, but it is not, because you still have your rent to pay, right? So you may say, oh, I'm selling my rice 5,500. My direct cost of rice, plastic, condiments is 3,000 naira. And so I'm making a profit of 2,500. But what about the salaries? What about your rent? What about the power that you need to pay every month, right? So you need to consider all of those. So how many plates of rice do you need to sell in a month in order to cover this fixed cost of 200,000? You need to be able to sell. So we're going to call that break-even units, right? You need to be able to sell 80 pieces of rice. So if you don't sell at least 80 pieces of rice, 80 plates of rice in a month, you would not be able to cover your fixed costs in that month. And selling 80 pieces of rice does not mean that you're operating a profitable business. Let's see. So let's say that we sell 80 pieces of rice. So that means if we charge someone 55 for 80 pieces of rice, so this is our total revenue from selling 80 pieces of rice, right? 440,000. What is our direct cost from that 80 pieces of rice? 240,000. What is our contribution? So remember that our fixed cost is constant, irrespective of how many pieces of rice we make and sell in a month. So we have just enough to cover our fixed costs. So at the end of the month, we would have, what would we have left? So our contribution minus our fixed costs would have nothing left. So we've not operated our business at a loss, but we've also not made any profits, right? What if we are able to make and sell 50, let's say 100 pieces of rice, right? So if we make and sell 80 pieces of rice, and please follow me closely, we have zero profit. So let's say if we make and sell 100 plates of rice. So we'd have, so let's put the number of units here. 100 plates of rice. We'd have a selling price, total revenue from 100 plates of rice, 550,000. Our direct costs from making and selling 100 plates of rice, 300,000. Our contribution, what do we have left after we deduct our revenue from our direct costs? 250,000. When we pay off our fixed cost for that month, do we have a profit or do we have a loss? We're going to have a profit of 50,000, right? Thank you. I can already see people making payments for the course. Please, once you've made payments, kindly reach out to, there's going to be a phone number and an email in the comment section that you can send proof of payment to, and then they can let you know next steps on how to access the resources. Okay? So let's say that, what about if we make, so we own a shop, right? For the purpose of this class. What if we make 100 pieces of rice, but we only sell 90? What does that look like for our numbers? So we make 100 pieces of rice, but we only sell 90 pieces. So our sales, our revenue is going to be the amount that we sold multiplied by the number of plates that, so our price multiplied by the number of plates that we sold. Our direct cost is not going to be based on the amount of plates that we sold. It's going to be based on the amount of plates that we made. So we made 100 pieces of rice, even if we only sold 100, right? So it's going to be 100 times direct cost. What is our contribution going to be? So we've made 100 pieces and we've only sold 90. Our contribution is going to be 195,000, right? If we pay our fixed costs in that month, do we make a profit or we've made a loss? We've made a loss of 5,000. So we need to be very mindful when calculating our costs and our price. You may have spent a lot of money putting something together. What is the plan that you have to ensure that you actually sell it? Okay, so let me just see what's left. So I've walked you through how to calculate your contribution and to identify the minimum number of products and services that you should be selling. And we've done a practical example, right? Let me walk you through other parts of the calculator. So with the other example that I shared with the Gary, based off your costs, this shows us that the minimum price that we can sell a bag of Gary for is this price here. So sell B2. So if we're doing a discount, remember that we had come up with a profit margin, which led us to have a price of 7,100, right? However, if we're to exclude that margin and we want to say if we're doing a sales or we're doing sales, right? What is the minimum number of what's the minimum price that we need to set? And what's the minimum number of units that we need to sell to at least cover our costs? This has been automatically calculated. This way, if you're doing any sales, you know that okay, I'm offering discounts, but my price should not go below this, and the number of units I aim to sell should not go below this. So this has been automatically calculated for you. There is also another break-even calculator. This one, you include your cost of goods sold as a percentage, your staff cost. So I talked about staff cost as a fixed or as a variable cost or as a direct or indirect cost. So if you're paying based off commission or based on output per staff, your direct cost is going to be variable, right? However, it is fixed if it is not dependent on output. And most people's salaries can be like a mix of both. So when you put all of this in, it tells you how much you need to make in a month in order to break even. And if you say that, okay, my target income is this, it tells you what that means profit-wise and what that profit margin is. So this profit analysis just breaks things down. So if your income is this per month, based off your costs, how does it influence your profit margin and your overall profit? So this calculator really just makes it a lot easier for you. So if you're not signing up for the one-to-one session, it just makes it a lot easier for you to calculate what your price is. So we're going to be wrapping up now. Do we have any question? So far, what are some of the key factors to consider before setting your price? Are we still here? So what are some of the key factors to consider before setting your price? So the first one is your costs, all your costs, right? Yes, all types of costs, both direct and indirect costs. Some people, they may think that they are making a profit because their price covers their direct costs, and they may be ignoring their indirect costs, right? Or they are not selling the right volume that they need to break even or to be making some profit from the business. Their customer segments as well, right? The kind of customers that you're choosing to engage with and reach out to will influence the profits that you're able to make, right? Then your competition, but before you even consider your competition, you need to consider your cost. I've had this class with a few people this year on a few programs, and what usually happens at the end of the class is some people realize I should not be doing this business. This business is not what I'm supposed to do right now. Like, it's not profitable, it does not make sense, it does not align with the lifestyle that I want to live. The profit margin is really small. I need to be selling this amount of products, and I don't have the marketing or sales strategy to be able to um, meet those that demand, right, for minimum products, right? So your business goals as well. This is so essential. Why are you in that business? What do you want to achieve with that business? So if I'm setting up courses that a lot of people can benefit from, it's going to be different from somebody who is setting up courses that they want to use to pay their next rent. The marketing strategy, the pricing that is set on it is going to be very different. So what is in it for you? So based on what we've covered in this class so far, what are some pricing mistakes that you've come to realize that you're making from this business? So someone is asking a question, what about if you price based on worst case scenario, like expecting 20 but pricing for 10? That's fine. So that just means that you're able to consistently make a profit. And that's better, right? You want to think about worst case scenario, how many products can I sell in a month? And then use that as a guide to set your indirect cost per unit. That way, if you sell more, you are most, and the goal is to always sell more, right? The more you're able to sell, the more profit that you're able to make from your business, because you have a lot more contribution. Remember, we talked about contribution, right? To cover for your fixed cost. So that's a great question, Uju. So what are some common pricing mistakes that you've come to realize that you make, or you know that someone you know makes from this? And just in case that you're not able to ask a question here, we're going to share the link to the WhatsApp group in the comment section as well, so that you can join and ask your question on the group later. Maybe you come up with something, or you can always reach out to me on WhatsApp, on social media as well. So what are some common pricing mistakes that this class has made you realize that you've made or you're making? How do we get the calculator? We shared a we shared that. I shared that, but I'm going to share that again towards the end of the class. If you want to get a calculator that helps you correctly calculate all your direct costs, your indirect costs, the price that you should be setting for your products. Yes, I already shared how to get that, but I'll share that again at the end of the class. Yes, Mr. Paul said not being clear on costs. So if you're not correctly calculating your cost, you're most likely not setting the right price for your business. So based on your customer's income instead of the value and the cost of the product. So in the robust pricing class that we're going to share, we're going to include how to communicate your value. Some of you are underselling because you're not properly talking about the value that you're bringing to the table. I'm also going to show you practical ways to research on your industry, right? So if one person can pay you for a product, so many more people can pay you for that product. How to connect with those people. That is going to be included in the pricing class that we're going to cover. Pricing based on emotion. That's good. So I wasn't considering the break even, not being clear on cost, pricing based on emotion. Very good. So now I hope that you understand how to price profitably, right? how to consider your break-even unit, your break-even price, um, how to consider the value and the cost of your product, how to calculate all your costs. That's good. So thank you so much for sharing. Let's see if we have some. So under pricing, there is also overpricing as well. The thing is, if you're not pricing correctly for your target audience, you can tomorrow. No, there's no class tomorrow. Do you want us to have a class tomorrow? I'm happy to have a class tomorrow. So yes, overpricing as well, neglecting computer analysis. So during the main pricing course, I break down how to carry out your computer analysis, not considering customer feedback. So someone was sharing earlier about the 40,000 naira con roll. So if most of your clients are saying what they are paying for this service is not equivalent to the experience that they're getting for it, that's feedback that you want to consider, not considering all your costs, lack of pricing flexibility. So we'll also teach you how to create bundles and tiers of your product. So I had a client who had multiple products that she was selling. Some of them were very profitable, some of them were not. So one of the things that we did during the pricing session was to know how to create bundles such that, like I said, you may not always be selling all your products at a profit, but and that's something called a loss leader. Loss leader is a very viable pricing strategy, right? So the loss leader is that product or service that you sell at a loss in order to sell others at a profit. And part of what we'll cover in the pricing course is things like having your loss leader, how to bundle products, how to create tiers of products, how to restructure your business if you currently realize that you're operating at a loss. So people that were asking, so this is a feedback from a client. She has one of the biggest skincare brands in Nigeria. So she said when she reached out to me, she reached out to me when she was in a fix regarding what pricing model to use to get the best results. After reviewing, okay, no, this is a wrong feedback. Um, so I'm going to try and see if I can get the feedback that she sent me, but it was essentially that she thought she was operating her business at a profit, but we had a one-to-one pricing session where I created a pricing calculator with her on the call, and she realized that she was operating at a loss, and she wasn't even paying herself. So she was putting in a lot of work into the business, and so we figured out how she could pay herself, how she can restructure her pricing, the different strategies that she can approach. We even identified new product lines that she can create based off her current trajectory and based off who her target customers are. So it was like a 4-hour session. We're creating calendar, breaking it down, and she found it really useful, right? So if you want to get a pricing calculator, this recording, in addition to a more robust pricing course that provides a lot more support for only 10,000 naira. If you pay now, you can pay to this account details. It's also in the comment section, and send an email or a WhatsApp message, and then you'll be guided on how to access it. So what you're going to get in the pricing course is everything in this session more broken down, right? We're also going to look at other pricing strategies that I had not mentioned on this call. How do you know when to change your price? How do you communicate your price to your audience? How do you handle pricing objections? So if someone tells you, oh, your price is too high, how do you respond to that without offering a discount, right? We're going to look at other pricing models like the loss leader, subscription pricing, freemium pricing, dynamic pricing. We're going to look at their pros and cons, right? I'm also going to show you how to research your market and your competitors to understand. So it's going to be everything covered and a lot more support. And if you're saying, oh, I don't want any more courses, I want someone to come and do it for me, happy to work with you as a pricing strategist. So if you pay today, if you pay today, I get to work with you one to one to figure out your pricing. So we'll sit down together. I mentioned how I was on a call with a client for up to 4 hours, creating a whole brand new pricing calculator for her based on what her business does. She had over 10 different products, and we're able to review pricing for all of them and come up with an effective strategy for them, right? So that would just really help you know what to do. So you're not just watching a course and trying to figure it out by yourself. I'm figuring it out with you. So this session typically costs 150,000. If you're not on this call, you can pay 99,000 in the next 1 week. But if you're on this call, you only get to pay 70,000 naira if you pay right now. And I will work with you to figure out your pricing. Okay, I don't know if we have any question. I think that most people have already asked their question. Um, so if you have any, okay, if you don't have any question, what's something that you've learned today? Was this worth it for you? We've been here for close to 2 hours. Um, was this worth it for you? What's something that you took out from the class today? Let me know in the comment section. So if you have any question, you can ask. You can also let me know if this was worth it for you, what stood out to you in the class. Yes, thank you, Didi. Didi said it was definitely worth it. Thank you. Yeah, so what's something that you took out from the class? Was it worth it? What did you learn? What are you going to start doing now as a result of what you learned in this class? Oh, you got clarity. That's good. Yeah, clarity. I'm so glad. So clarity is a big thing that all my clients say they get in sessions with me. So thank you so much for saying that you got clarity on your pricing. That's good. Overpricing is when you're charging more than what your customers can pay for. So it depends on, or the value of what you're offering does not match the price that you're setting for it. So it's based off two things. The value does not match. So if somebody is paying 40K for cornrows, what is the experience that they expect to have, right? And is that price matching it? Yes, and also if your customers keep saying, "Oh, I'm not buying because this is too much," it could be that you're targeting the wrong audience, but it could also be that you're not pricing correctly. Thank you, Mr. Adewale. Mr. Paul said, um, that's great. So, yes, even as a service provider, understanding how to price your product is very, very important. So, people always say, "Oh, how do I charge my clients?" So, that's why I showed you how to use the calculator. So, you can sign up for the course. Remember, if you pay now or within the next 24 hours, if you pay right now, you get to pay 10,000 there. After now, it's 15,000, and you can get the recording, a lot more course, um, the pricing calculator, which you can tweak based on your business, right? And other bonuses. So I think that today I was thinking about it and I was like, oh, everybody who signs up for the course today, I want to have a separate live class with them at some point this month, and we'll just maybe, it's going to be more of an interactive session, so it's not going to be on YouTube. It's going to be a private session that I'm having with them to understand what their pricing challenges are and to just support them. So the price is never going to be 10,000 naira again. So if you want it, please go and pay for it right now. And if you feel like, no, I don't want any course, I want you to come and do it for me, I'm more than happy to do so. If you pay 70,000 naira right now, if not 150,000 naira from tomorrow, right? So thank you, Jessica. I remember that the course is not just the recording. This recording is so much more value that you're going to be getting as well. And then I also mentioned that I'll be having a private session with everyone who signs up for the course, um, just really to understand your pricing challenge. So you're able to actually talk to me and we can work it out together. Yeah. Okay, so thank you. So far it looks like this was worth it and it was great. Everyone has great feedback. I've been making more revenue, less profit. They have a lot of cash. Yes, and that's a common mistake that I see with a lot of businesses. Amazing session. Thank you. It was worth it. I'm so glad. 2 hours of your time. Thank you so much. You now know your worth. So what have we covered in the class so far? We covered the different pricing models. We covered understanding the different costs. So we say if you don't understand your cost or correctly calculating your cost, you're most likely not charging most likely not charging correctly. So we used our pricing calculator, which is a simple tool that I created to come up with how to calculate how much to charge if you offer a product service. If you offer a service, right? So some people say, oh, I offer graphic design or I offer one-to-one coaching. How much should I charge? I showed you how to use the pricing calculator to do that. So it's been automated. You just put in the numbers that you know and it comes up with the numbers that you should know. Okay. I also showed you if you create a product. So very simple tool. You have to calculate your break even. So what's the least price that you should be charging? So even if you're doing discounts and sales, what's the price that you should not go below? And how many units should you be aiming to sell each month? And this is based off your direct and indirect costs. So this has been automated. You don't have to do anything. It automatically comes here. So this helps a lot for people who are trying to do sales so that you're not doing sales at the expense of your business profitability. So I have two offers, right? I have the course which you pay for right now, right? I can see a lot of my phone is I keep turning because I keep getting credit alerts. All right, so I have two offers, right? If you pay 10,000 naira right now, you will get the pricing calculator, the pricing course, which includes a recording of the session and a lot more that you need to know about pricing your business, how to handle objections, how to know when to increase your price, how to communicate your price change, right? And other bonuses. I'm also saying that before the end of this month, everybody who signs up for the course, I'm going to have a closed group session with you, maybe for 30 minutes to an hour. And then I'm going to like just walk through any challenges that you may be having with that. This is something that I didn't consider before now, but the goal is that you're able to price your product and your service correctly, right? So that's an extra bonus, a group session, and it's only for people who actually pay today. So the course is going to be launched in a few days' time, right? If you pay today, you only get to pay 10,000 naira for the course, the calculator, other bonuses, a closed session with me. If you don't pay today, you can pay tomorrow, you can pay later. The price is going to increase towards the launch date, but it's only people who are paying today that get to have that group session, right? Where we are discussing, like you're able to actually speak to me and I can hear your wonderful voice as well. The other offer is you don't want to do your pricing. You don't want to listen to any course. You just want somebody who can do it for you. I spoke about a client who I worked with, right? She has about 10 products. We're able to revamp her whole pricing strategy, come up with new product lines, bundles. So you want a strategic advisor. We're able to work on a session together. You send me all your data. We on a call. I'm creating a customized pricing calculator for you. The price of doing this is 150,000, but if you pay today, you get it for 70,000, right? So this is a one-to-one session. It's just going to be me and you and your numbers, me and you on your business. But if you're not ready for that right now, you just want the course, you pay 10,000 naira right now. At the end of the month, I'll have a group session with everyone who wants who has gotten the 10,000 naira cost today. So if this is for only people who are paying today. So I think about 20 people have paid so far. So that session is just going to be for everybody who pays today, right? So if you're paying today, that session is, you are going to have that closed session with you. If not, you still have access to the course. And it's not a one-to-one session, it's a group session. The one-to-one session is the one you only get to pay 70,000 naira for. If you're not ready for any of it, you're not sure, there is a free checklist which you have access to and can go and review. Okay, I hope that that is clear. Any more question? So this is, follow us on social media. Um, make sure that you're on the WhatsApp group as well if you're not there already. So I'm just going to stay on the call for a few more minutes. You're pretty much done. In case anyone has any question, any concerns, or just if you want to share something that you really learned today, thank you so much for the feedback. I really appreciate. Yeah, so you have a group private session with me if you pay 10K for the course today. The course will be launching in a few days' time, and you get the full recording of this session. Are you going to have access to the calculator you used today? So we could work on that. Actually, if you're paying for the course, no, actually. But you're going to have access to it in a few days. So we will start sending off resources from Tuesday, but the course itself, the full course, would not be available till next week, right? Um, and part of the course is the calculator, the pricing course, which is a recording of the session, an expanded session. Thank you for your feedback. I really appreciate feedback. They encourage me to keep giving back. So I'm just going to be on this call for a few minutes. If you have any question, any concerns, definitely worth it. Thank you so much. So connect with us on social media, follow us online. We share a lot of value on our social media page, and people showing up for things like this definitely encourages us to do more. And I really want to have more classes like this year. So please, okay. Thank you, everyone. So we're going to end the call now.